the level of talent this fucking lightweight division has, man. Just these 2 fights just shows you, like, if you reach that top echelon of that division, it just shows you that you're not a human fucking being. I'm just saying that right now. Dan, you're not a fucking human being because you were there. You reached that top part. You're fighting these guys. And you're probably gonna be fighting them again because you're gonna be at lightweight. What do you think about? Yeah.
We'll double back around. Man, you can just see why people tune into this division, right? You can see why they put on one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year, and it's a lightweight card, right? Because those boys go out there and get their money. Go out there and everyone's like game. Everyone's game at the top. Tony, Chandler, everyone's going out there to absolutely fight. I was watching on my missus. She's just like, man, they really need to pay the lightweight division more. I was like, they do, babe. They do. Lightweight division does get more money, and it's for a reason, because they boys go out there, touch the gloves, and absolutely swing on.
Yeah, and that main event, Oliveira and Gaethje, I felt like I watched a 15-minute fight, but the fight only lasted for 3.5 minutes. There's so much that happened in that 3.5 minutes, back and forth. Oliveira, I think with my eyes watching Oliveira, when he got like clipped and he dropped to his back, I thought that was a smart, like, strategic. If it was strategic, that was a smart strategic move by him, like fight IQ, to just lay on his back and recover, because he knows Gaethje's probably not gonna jump in there, on top of him. And do you think that's something? There's something to that?
Oh, 100%. 100%. That's like a good it's a good card to have in your back pocket, right? Like when you get dropped, instead of fighting to stay on your feet and keep balanced, just having the ability to lie to your back, take 10, 15, 20 seconds just to recollect yourself. And but it's just due to the threat, right? It's the threat of submission. There's not many guys that can do that. There's him and pretty much Tony Ferguson that could get dropped and roll to his back, and the guy's going to think twice before jumping on him. You're going to think, oh, it's not really worth it. I'll let him back to the feet. So it's an incredible, it's an incredible ace in the back pocket to have, to be able to fall to your back and recover, and then stand up when you want to stand up and get back to action. Yeah, just due to his pretty incredible submission game, he can throw up triangles and arm bars off of his back. So it's just more trouble than it's worth following him down. Like a lot of people, just a couple more punts. Like it's not worth it with a guy like that. Because if he gets, especially if he's hurt and you jump on him, he gets an arm or something like that. He's gonna go all in. He's gonna go 100%. He's gonna try and take it. He's gonna try and take it off. So better to let him back to his feet.
Yeah.
But same hand, he just gets straight back up and starts pressuring forward and mounting offense, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and on the flip side, if he clips you, he's not afraid to jump in there on top of you and play that ground game. And I think that combination is just such a huge threat to anybody. You know what I mean? Like he's getting pretty damn close there to just like us forgetting about Khabib. I'm just going to put that out there, and then someone's going to get mad. People are going to get mad, but I'm just saying, like, Charles is putting on some fucking incredible performances to make me forget about Khabib. And Khabib's tweeting after his Charles's fights all the time. I'm just like, come back, dude. Come back and fight Charles. Let's do it. Let's put that shit together. Like, why are you sitting back?
That's the sport. That's the sport. People's like that's the real like kryptonite that people's memories don't last very long at all. What is it? Like a year since this guy walked away, and people are already forgetting about it. He's having to tweet post fight to keep his keep his name in the conversation for like lightweight GOAT, right? Give it another 6 months, give it a year, and then we'll see how he can handle being away from all of that attention and being away from that limelight once people really forget. But again, like Khabib's the only guy to leave MMA with that. The only guy to leave MMA, to walk out of mixed martial arts a champion without a blemish on his record, without any smudges next to his name, and that's it's better off to stay away, because you come back, you're coming straight back into the fire. Especially like that's even harder. Coming off after time off, getting back, getting fit, getting your mind sharp for competition again. Like that would be like yeah. Stay away. Stay away. Protect that that magic number 0. That's that's the only thing that will like never truly be replicated in our sport.
Yeah, it's probably really hard, to stay away, especially when you're so involved in the sport. You're not even like completely stepping away, not even going to the gym. This guy's still training. He's coaching his fighters. He's cornering fighters. He's traveling around the world. He runs a promotion. He's just totally intertwined, and it's got to be eating him inside, man. Like there's guys that people are talking about is better than you, even though they have losses. They're still talking about, yeah, Charles might be better. He might be better. Let's put that in the conversation. Come on, you guys, like complete skill set.
That's why it was so incredible what he did, because it's so hard to keep an unblemished record. Like you look at Charles Oliveira's run, he's been dropped in every one of these fights now. It's been dropped by Gaethje a few times, dropped before that. All Chandler dropped him, Poirier dropped him. Like it's it just shows you how close these fights are. Like they're a couple of millimeters or a centimeter away from him not being the champ. Someone in the division looking completely different. But that's the true beauty of the sport.
Yeah, it's incredible, like how his chin has gotten better over the years. It seems like how his toughness, or maybe it was on the mental stuff or whatever, but still, the guy, like you said, he's been dropped in every single title fight and come back and has finished the fight.
I would say just like momentum is a huge part of the sport as well. Like someone having that momentum behind him. Like he knows now. Like obviously he had those things early on in his career where it looked like he was just like, nah. But it obviously shows that, like when someone has everything on the line, like he's got that confidence now that he's the world champion. He knows in those last 2 fights, like he got dropped in this fight, but it's like, well, the last 2, like why would I panic? He's not panicked by it. Like got dropped, all right, I'll take 10 seconds, sit on my back, like things are going to be all right, just because he has that momentum of pushing through those difficult times. You know what I mean? Yeah, the momentum of Charles Oliveira's on is pretty incredible at the moment. He'd be a hard man to stop, just purely based on like his skill set and the momentum that he's created.
The only person that has went to the judges with him in his current run, which is like more than 10 fight win streak, is Tony Ferguson, which is kind of incredible. You know what I mean? That Tony Ferguson took him to the judges, and Chandler and Poirier just went guns blazing with him, man. It's just, and Gaethje as well. You know what I mean? Just his last 3 fights, just, man, what can you say, man? Just the guy is incredible. I was a doubter myself, in the beginning. I was like, nah, Charles is not going to beat Chandler. Like even against Ferguson, I was just like, Ferguson's like the better version of Charles. I was falling in love with that narrative for a while, just followed along with it. And then he just keeps proving me wrong. And now this time around, I was just like, yeah, I think Charles is, better than Gaethje. But then at the same time, I picked Gaethje to win the fight, which means I'm still a hater. Fuck it.
Yeah, I had potentially. Like I was more leaning towards Gaethje, like being able to keep it on the feet, and how it was going the first couple of minutes of that fight, him landing the big shots and then getting back on the move and avoiding those grappling exchanges. But just Charles Oliveira was so persistent in his game. Like he was getting dropped, he was getting rocked. He was landing some hard shots on Gaethje too. He landed like a couple of right hands right across the temple of Justin Gaethje. I thought had him like, not necessarily wobble, but catching him with some good shots. Like had him getting his respect. But just the persistence of Charles Oliveira has been like the real key to this recent string of good results. But that's just the sport. Like any of those fights could have gone either way. That's why it's so
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah, you're right. Because he, like you say, he's been dropped, right? It's just like a couple millimeters to the left or to the right could have shut his brain off. You don't know. You know what I mean? It's just, man, it's just entertaining. That's the word. It's just entertaining. We could go into the X's and O's and all that shit. But you know, like when you look at Gaethje now, right? He's still clearly one of the best in the world, but where does he go from here? You know what I mean? He loses his second title fight, like to his second opportunity at winning the title, right? It's very rare where guys lose twice fighting for the title and get a third shot. Like he's gonna have to go through the ringer to jump back in there, right?
I'm not sure. Like things can happen so quick. Like now that it's all up in the air again, like them obviously stripping Charles Oliveira, which I thought was pretty. That was a pretty weird. He must be a pretty difficult guy. His team must be a pretty difficult team to negotiate with behind the scenes. Like that's the first thing that I saw when they were like, nah, misses by half a pound, and then they stripped him of the title. And what my understanding of the situation is more of like a misunderstanding than anything, or a mistake than anything. It's not like, that's why it's so weird. It's not like Charles Oliveira was like cutting so much weight that he got down to that last half a pound and just couldn't lose any more weight. That's not the situation that he was in. There's like a mishap with the scales. Like from my understanding of the situation, like most teams will have like a scale in the room with the fighter. There's a scale downstairs with the UFC, and then wherever the weigh-in is, there's another test scale before you go out and do your scale. So there's like four different times like you weigh in. So it's like obvious that he calibrated his scale in his room or whatever they did, or the one at the hotel downstairs. Someone's knocked it, someone's jumped around with it. It's shifted a little bit. Like he's gone on weight, been like, all right, I'm on weight. Someone's knocked it, someone's dropped it. Like it's then shifted a little bit, and then he's been caught out. And just the way that the Brazilians cut weight as well is a bit makes it more difficult to lose that weight. Like we do like with Geordie, we do like water loads. So we're like full of water. We flush all our sugars and salts out of our system during the week with like the food that we eat. So then when we go to sit in the sauna and cut weight, our like that water is like readily available on our muscles, and we can like sweat it out. So if that were to happen to me, a mishap with the scales, I had an hour to lose the weight, I could definitely like jump back in a sauna and that weight, like that water would come off. But my understanding of how the Brazilians do it, like they do like a water taper leading into it. So they like slowly restrict water, and then like 48 hours like early, they cut out water completely. So your body kind of goes into preservation mode of like trying to retain all of that water or keep it, you know? So when he was over and then had an hour to jump back on, like he's that water's not readily available in his muscles. So he could sit in there for as long as he wants, but he's been dehydrated for too long before starting the cut process. So yeah, it's just like a learning experience, if anything. But for me, it's like it's a misunderstanding, and it's such a small piece of weight, and we've seen so many others get away with complete bullshit and be completely unchecked by it, right? Yeah. Like DC with the towel, Hamza with the towel, Khabib with the towel. Oh, Khabib with the most bullshit weigh-in I've ever seen. Yeah. Like the guy step on it, the guy hit itself and just be like 150. Like you just yell it out, right? Like they could have done that to Charles, right? They could have done the same thing to Charles. Charles could have stepped on, swipe 155. And that's all she wrote. But it's obvious that behind the scenes, there's a bit of something else going on. You know what I mean? So it's not like people giving Chow shit, but it's not the worst. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen stepping on a scale. You know what I mean? Like we've
Yeah.
seen it before. We've seen those three circumstances and go completely unchecked or completely unpunished, which is pretty crazy. And then to have such like a severe punishment, and for this guy to be like, "Oh, we're taking your title. You're not getting pay-per-view on your next fight." Blah 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 blah. Like it's wild. It's just wild.
Yeah, it's just, it's, I don't know. I don't want to blame the commissions 100%, but, because sometimes the UFC, they become like their own commission when they go to international shows or whatever. And I don't remember exactly where those weigh-ins happen, but yes, one thing that I'm fucking like trips me the fuck out is why are they still using the scales from 1956? Why don't they fucking use a digital scale?
They're lighter. So the if you're like a little bit over on the digital, you can still be under on the slide. Like the slide is like I've been like 100 grams, 200 grams, maybe like 100 grams, checking my weight on the digital and being like, oh, I gotta lose 100 grams or take my undies off or something stupid. You know what I mean? And the UFC's like, nah, the slider is actually lighter than the digital scale. So like they would have known when they went downstairs to check with the UFC, they would have known that they were in some shit, right? Like they would have known like I'm a little bit over, but it's just the manner in which they cut weight was why it was so difficult, even with the hour, to get onto weight. They just kind of need to address that dehydration process or their water restriction process leading into fights.
Yeah, it shows you that still athletes around the world are trying to figure out weight cutting. It's still something, a work in progress for many fighters. I'm still thinking a lot of fighters are using their old school methods because they have no access to, I guess, better education on weight cutting. And there's always that argument. It's like, this is the reason. This is my like American in the basement like loser person. I don't want to say American, just just random people. Well, why do they keep cutting weight, man? Like they shouldn't cut weight. Like don't make different weight classes. It's like, yo, if they make different weight classes, they're still gonna fucking cut weight. So it's not gonna fucking change anything.
Yeah, like people, that's like definitely an argument against it, right? Like, oh, why don't people just fight at their natural weight class? Like, yeah, that's cool until you fight a guy that's got like 10 kilos like muscle advantage on you. Then it's like weight cutting is not safe, but also fighting someone that's the best person in the world that has a 10-kilo advantage on you is not safe either. So it's like it's pick your safe, right? Like it's what it's just a weird situation, but no one can come up with a solution for the problem, right? So it's just like the system that we have in place is different. This is not to me, this is not like a weight cutting issue. Charles Oliveira missed. This is like more of a misunderstanding. More of a misunderstanding, an oversight, or it's a mistake. It's a mistake. It's not that he cut too much weight or sat in the sauna. Like it's nothing like that. It's a mistake. They thought their scales were on. The scales weren't on.
Yeah, exactly. What was the whole rumor about like the scale that they had downstairs overnight, the night before the weigh-in, somebody recalibrated it from kilos to pounds, and that's where the mistake happened. There was a rumor going around like that, or is that the truth? I have no idea.
So the way that it'll work, right? Like they have during fight week, they'll have two digital scales like in the hotel, like kind of just one for each because they separate the teams, like one for each corner, red corner, blue corner. And then weigh-in day, or the day that you're weighing in, or they'll take one of those scales and take it to the weigh-in venue. So there's one scale left, like the night before the fight, the morning of the weigh-in, the night before the weigh-in, the morning of the weigh-in. there'll be like a scale. There's only one scale for everyone, right? So that's how many? 24. That's 24 fighters, 24 teams using one scale. You know what I mean? Like, I don't read pounds. I read it in kilos. Like, I switch that thing up. Guys are jumping around. Guys are mad. Guy might check his weight. He might bang the scale. Like, there's so many variables that can go into that. It's yeah, it's not like the UFC is gonna calibrate it every 20 minutes. Like, that's the only real option, right? Like, it's just that's what I'm saying. It's just a mistake. Like, the guy's getting hammered. The guy's gonna lose like a couple $1,000,000 for a mistake. It's not. He could have like, if you were to just point at me, I'll be like, yeah, I don't care about the 200 grams. Give him his belt. I don't give a shit. Like, let's still fight. It's not gonna impact the result of the fight.
Yeah, well, I guess it's gonna. Like, this leads to a vacant title fight now, and of course, Charles Oliveira is going to be one of the participants. Imagine if he's not. Imagine if he's not one of the participants for the vacant. That could happen. Let's put on our tinfoil hats. let's put them on. Let's put them on. All right, I got the next fight. The next title fight does not involve Charles Oliveira. It is going to be Islam Makhachev versus Conor McGregor. Even though Charles called out Conor, if Conor's going to drop down, what other fight would be great? Of course, Charles would be a great fight. But did you see the tweet that Conor put out about going back down to 155 right after the fight? Did you see it?
During the strawweight title, I did have some Twitter time, so I did jump on Twitter during that fight, and I saw Conor call out or accepted a fight with. No, kind of called him out. Kind of called out Chandler. Was like, we can get it done. I guarantee you, this is my guarantee. I got my tinfoil hat. I guarantee on whatever happens, Makhachev is getting a title fight in Abu Dhabi later this year, without a doubt. Makhachev is getting
Chandler.
Nah, Makhachev.
Oh, Makhachev. Okay.
Islam will get a title fight in Abu Dhabi. Like, the kind of
there's
money
a date for that
place throws around to get these boys over there. He's gonna be part of the title picture. Like, regardless of who fights, if there's another fight, Makhachev's getting a title fight, and that on that date, just because of that money that they've got, the money that they're throwing around. Like, there's more at play than people kind of understand.
Yeah, they got that stupid money. They got that, zero fucks given money. Like,
they got that make any title fight they want money. They got
that Hasbullah versus Conor McGregor money. They put that together. If
they could easily. If the Sheik really wanted to see that, that's the fight that you would see.
For real. You make sense, because they do have a UFC, a pay-per-view on October 22nd lined up in Abu Dhabi, UFC 281. So Dan predicting the future again, but that's tinfoil hat. My matchup is Makhachev versus Conor. Oliveira might get screwed, because you see guys get screwed or timing or injuries.
It would have to be an injury. If that fight got set, and like, if Oliveira and Makhachev got set for Abu Dhabi, and then like Oliveira got injured, then I could definitely see like Michael Chandler or Conor McGregor coming back into the division and fighting for the title. I definitely feel like that's the fight, right? What month are we in now? That Abu Dhabi's November, I believe.
October.
That could be October. It's just around the corner.
Exactly.
It's just around the corner.
Exactly.
That's the fight. Makhachev, Oliveira. Oliveira gets screwed if he gets injured. If he gets injured, he gets screwed, and someone else fights for the title. That's the beauty of the UFC stripping him in this position, right? Like, trust me, Makhachev has to fight for a title in Abu Dhabi. That's happening. regardless of what gets thrown out, yeah, like that's the major plan that they have set in motion for that.
Tapology, put Makhachev main event UFC 281 versus TBA. It's going to happen. Dan, I agree with you. I could see that happening because he's probably the biggest star, and maybe Hamzat co-main event on that if they could throw him in there. But Islam is probably the biggest guy that could main event in Abu Dhabi, so you'd have to save him for that. But what about the Ali Shuffle? That could be a factor. Remember the Ali Shuffle, right? Like
this is the Ali Shuffle. This is the Ali Shuffle.